Seeing that, press the green button, so we are being recorded. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask if there could be a consideration and move to approve the December 6, 2023 meeting notes. Motion that.
I'll move.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Seeing there's no opposition, the meeting notes from December 26, 2023 are approved. I'd like to call a public comment period pursuant to Section 84-112 Tennessee Code annotated. The board holds a designated public comment period at each meeting. Meetings of the member of the public in attendance may provide comments to the board during such designated time. No advance registration is required. Is there public comment? Yes, sir. Please join us. Welcome.
Thank you.
Please let us know who you are.
I am Charles Carpenter. I'm an attorney in Memphis and here in Nashville. This is my law partner, Corbin Carpenter. And we didn't want to barge in on you guys this morning, but we were here in Nashville and we had been following the agenda, and we know that for previous meetings, you had indicated that you were looking at issuer counsel role, and we serve as issuers counsel for the Memphis Health, Education, and Housing Facility Board. And we wanted to just come and introduce ourselves this morning since there's a new administration, some new board members. And we know Cindy, and we're not barging in on her. We work with her on a regular basis over the years. And some firms have a different policy where they serve as bond counsel and issuer counsel on the same matter. We don't do that. We've elected our firm. We just serve as issuers counsel. And several of the transactions, Adams Reese has served as bond counsel in Memphis, and we've been growing our practice here in Nashville. We are disclosure counsel for Metro Nashville government. We also work with some of the other issuers here in Nashville, and we just wanted to introduce ourselves and leave you with a statement of our qualifications. We don't know where that procedure is right now, if it's ongoing or if you stopped it or whatever, but at least we could introduce ourselves and answer any questions that you might have. I'll let my partner tell you about our pilot program. We were instrumental in setting that up in Memphis, and we have, I'll let him tell you, it's probably over 100 pilots outstanding now. And I'll let him talk about that.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, board. My name is Corbin Carpenter. I actually came to an earlier board meeting with the previous chair, Dr. Day, and introduced myself at the conclusion of the board meeting. So we figured we'll come and say what we have to say on record for you guys to introduce ourselves. But we have an office in Nashville and in the city of Memphis. So we're here, as my father-in-law partner said, to just say hello and introduce ourselves. So with our pilot program specifically, we helped create that back in 2002 with the city of Memphis. Now we currently have 124 pilots comprising of about 22,000 units. With our pilot program, it is a work in progress, as you can imagine. The bigger it gets way more robust. So we not only help create and implement the pilots working with the different applicants, we actually create the pilot documentation. We actually help close the pilot with the local taxing authorities in the city of Memphis, so the treasurer's office, the assessor's office, and the trustee's office. And subsequent to the closing of the pilot, we actually conduct the compliance and monitoring for the pilot through the full 20 or 25-year pilot term. So we're not gonna, as my father said, we did create a small packet. We thought that there would be more explanatory than giving you guys a business card. We wanted to do the work for you guys, give you a very brief statement. Chairwoman Sharp, if that's appropriate, may I pass that out to the board members? Okay. And just wanted to and just to be clear, as my father said, we have a lot of love and respect for Attorney Barnett. We're not barging in. We want to bring value and add value to what you already have. She does a great job. We want to make that clear. So we're not trying to take, the metaphor, not trying to take any food off anyone's table, but add value to the table, what you guys are already doing. So I will just pass these out. We greatly appreciate your time.
We'll have someone sitting here. She's coming.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chairwoman Sharp. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. leave extra chairwoman? Or?
Let's see, let's leave, everybody's here. I was gonna say this is not, yeah, no, we're good. We have everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for your time, and we're available to answer any questions if the board has any.
Thank you. Matt?
What is, a little unclear on the distinction between bond counsel and issuers counsel.
Issuers counsel basically, both can represent the board. Issuer counsel typically takes care of the procedural aspects of the bond transaction. So we'll do the inducement resolution, we'll conduct the TEFRA hearing, we'll do the final bond resolution, we'll take care of the due diligence with the application process. We'll work hand in hand in tandem with the board and the applicant and the mayor's office to make sure we have everything in tandem procedurally. We'll also participate in all the working group calls, from inception to closing, and just every document that the issuer would enter into as far as, the bond purchase agreement. If it's a public offering, the offering documents, we'll make sure that that the board is protected and that it has everything in compliance with state law and federal law. Bond counsel, you would do most of that same stuff, but you'll be focused more on the tax compliance for the transaction, while at the same time protecting the board, which is your client.
Okay, so if you're the bond counsel, who's your client?
The board.
Okay, and if you're issuers counsel, who's your client?
The board.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So it's just you protect the board in different, capacities, but all in all, the engagement letter that you enter into as counsel, you'll make that clear. You'll lay out the scope of responsibilities and who your client actually is.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Okay, great, thank
Well, sorry for coming in late. I have a question just with respect to Cindy's role. So you're now bond counsel or issuers counsel to the board, or what's the difference, I guess?
We're issuers counsel to the board, general counsel to the board, and have been for many years, and Corbin did a great job describing that. To the extent we're also asked to give the tax opinion to the board on the transaction, that is just additional, that expands our role for the board in terms of the due diligence work we would do. If we're only acting in a procedural capacity, that's kind of one thing. If we're also asked to do the tax work to the board, as he said, both are for the board. Under your debt policies, it permits both one firm acting in both capacities, but that it changes per the transaction. And so the developer teams, they're responsible for selecting their own professionals, and that includes their bankers, other lawyers. And so the question becomes, who's going to give the tax opinion that the board can rely on? If we're not providing that, we typically, just because that's my practice, I provide that same level of scrutiny even if someone else is giving that tax opinion, just to make sure the board is protected. So that's really what we've done over time.
So Cindy, who drafts the, for example, who drafts the resolutions?
We do,
Okay.
always. Yeah, we do.
And if the board were to consider another partner in this, how would your role change specifically? If we partnered with another firm and they did not the bond component, not the issuance.
The issuers counsel component, so the more procedural side, and we'll work in tandem with Adams Reese to close that transaction. And then, of course, if the pilot wants to be done contemporaneously with the bonds, then whoever the board will figure out, I don't know if you guys of course you have the authority to issue pilots, but we're not sure if you have closed any pilots recently.
We did our first one last week.
Congratulations, okay.
You sparked my interest because you said 22,000 units.
22,000.
So I think this had 170?
Total, but the pilot units were 30.
We're 30. And so 22,000 units sounds a lot more attractive than 30, right? I know it's a matter of time that you've been working on it.
Absolutely. Well, yes, we have a lot of experience with it. So, these pilots can take a lot for their own, and you just want to make sure that with a lot of pilots that it's not a windfall to the developer. And you want to be able to make sure that the tax abatement that's granted to the developer is an actual benefit to the city and the tenants within that particular facility. So I guess the primary function of our pilot program is to make sure that that tax abatement to the developer, instead of being a windfall, that tax abatement, receipt comes and is given as tenant benefits to the tenants living within that facility. So through, enhanced property improvements with social services that are given to the tenants depending upon the demographics of the property. You have a property full of, young children, then we expect you to provide after-school care services, computer tutoring, financial literacy. You have more of an elderly population to provide things, when you have a barbershop a beauty shop, come give free healthcare screenings, free flu shots, things of that sort. So it is tenured per property, basically, so it's not just a uniform kind of approach to it. But yeah, it took a lot of years to get where we got to with it now, and we're very proud of it.
And just out of respect thank you for coming in for your time too, so that they can understand, what would our next step be if we consider this? Will we talk about this before adjournment? What's our process when presented with something like this?
So just to start, I have not had a chance to talk to Metro Legal because we only had kind of a last quick turnaround, but I will. But I imagine, and Cindy, I want to obviously hear from you, but I imagine, I guess the next step would be to issue an RFP. That's what we decided to do as a board. But it seems like we could have different versions of the RFP, right? And I guess that's something that we would need to discuss further.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, Cindy, is that your understanding that if we were to consider this, that we could, if we decided to, no decisions have been made yet, but if we decided to move forward with an RFP, we could potentially have two RFPs, right? One for a firm that would represent us in all capacities, and then another for bond counsel and issuers counsel if we decided to go with that approach.
I would take it one step at a time. And also, just to note, you might recall that you retained Metro Legal Department to handle the pilot program. So we're not involved in that at all.
Right.
So
Metro Legal, it was here last week.
Metro Legal handles the pilot program. Yeah, and last year, the board put in place some next steps, having a committee, so to speak, of someone leading that and just reviewing what kind of the process might be. We're happy to help with any of that. One thing I had talked to Metro Legal about I thought would be helpful is if we did a very detailed list of everything we do, because obviously we get no support from Metro, so we handle all the administrative matters for the board as well. So just to make sure if you do get to an RFP stage, that it clearly covers the entire scope of what you'd want someone to do for you. I think that's important.
Yeah.
But we can talk about that.
Okay. Perfect.
Who would pay the fees of the bond and issue counsel? Is that
Well, this board has no assets, so anytime someone comes before you, they are 100% responsible for all costs, for everybody.
Anything else? Okay, so we'll continue to talk about this and keep you in the loop. You're welcome to come to any sessions, of course, that we have. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And you're welcome to stay and listen to this very exciting next step. Hold on to your seats, babies. This is a supplement final approval request from Joseph Avenue Partners LP for supplemental final approving of the issuance not to exceed $34 million multifamily housing revenue bond. This is Joseph Avenue Apartments Project, Series 2023. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to this as a public hearing?
Yes.
Please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Long time no see.
Yeah.
So Evan Holiday, Holiday Ventures. I have Reed Lauer with me as well.
Good to see all of you.
Again, like I said at the end of last meeting, thank you so much for you all making time out of your day, your busy week before Christmas and the holidays, to be here. This will ultimately lead towards a successful outcome for River Chase and the redevelopment of River Chase and creating long-term affordable options in the redevelopment of River Chase. And so a brief summary, and please let me know if you guys want me to go into even more detail. I'm happy to. But we have been working on this development. And I'll back up a little bit. Holiday Ventures, we're based here in Nashville. We have been working on affordable housing for the last 4.5 years. I've been in affordable housing for 12 years total. And really we focus on creating unique, impact-driven, results-oriented developments where we can really help our residents find better outcomes and give them the tools, the community, and the space, the safe space to really have better outcomes. And so what we do best is focusing on intentionally designed and developed communities and bringing in the right partners to make that happen, and also creatively figuring out how to finance that. So with Barnes funds and tax-exempt bonds and tax credits and tax abatements and CHI grants and, you name it. If there's a grant out there for affordable housing, we've probably worked on it, at least here in Davidson County. And we're able to bring the partners and the creative financing and really also layer on top of all of that, working with really, really impactful nonprofit partners who are able to help provide the wraparound services in our communities that create those better outcomes. And so we know what we're good at, and we find the partners who are best at those services and really find a win-win through that solution to help our families and our residents for the long term. And so we've been working on this development specifically for the last 12 months through an RFP process and a little bit before that. So Korea, the master developer, they're a market rate developer. They had purchased a 23-acre existing apartment community that had previously been affordable housing with rent restrictions, with a land use restrictive covenant, but that covenant was wearing off. And so they were looking at it saying, how can we redevelop this and do the highest and best use? And the community said, hey, if you're going to rezone this, you need our sign off, and we really want to see long-term affordability here. We need to see it. And so they worked with the community. This was all before we were involved. Worked with the community to help really figure out outcomes that the community would support and would create better outcomes for the legacy residents who lived in the current community and also for any future residents. And so out of that came a community benefits agreement, which provided for 220 affordable units, different income ranges from 40%, I think it was 120%. And so we were focused on the 40 to 80%. Those are the most deeply affordable units, the kind of deeply affordable to middle income affordable. And we were doing 140 of those units. Korea was doing the other 80 units. And so over the last 12 months, we've worked with some great partners. We partnered with Urban League of Middle Tennessee to help provide the services and to also be able to finance the development. And through that process, Korea also agreed to add another 25 affordable units. So now it's at 245 total affordable units. And our 140 units, we agreed to a certain percentage from 40 to 80% of area median income. We're now going to 30% to 80%. So we moved, I think it was all the 40s, right? All the 40s down to 30. So providing more deeply affordable units and also working with MDHA to provide project-based vouchers for those units. So really providing safe, stable housing for the most deeply affordable and the families most in need. And so we're kind of literally at the finish line here. And so thank you so much for this meeting today and kind of what this means in the greater scheme. We originally came to the board a few times, but with all the previous meetings were for an amount of bonds not to exceed $30 million. And over the course of the last 12 months, our costs have, of course, not stopped, have not slowed down. And so we're now coming back to the board and asking for an additional $4 million for a total of $34 million, which will allow for a $63 million affordable development to happen in formerly River Chase. I'm happy to answer any other questions you have. Oh, and one other thing I want to point out is this space will be really, I think, a statement for Nashville of quality affordable housing. And in the sense that we are doing enterprise green communities, we are building a 2,500 square foot empowerment center that Urban League will manage and run services out of that space on a continuous daily basis. And we will have 2,700 square feet of retail space, and we're talking to various nonprofits that can have kind of like a forward-facing retail component, so we can serve the greater community, but also still have a nonprofit element to that space. So really, I think creating a unique environment for families to thrive, and this is the final piece to allow us to pay for that overage in construction and overage in costs that we experienced over the last 12 months. And if the board approves the additional $4 million today, then we will we'll do a series of events, but we'll close on all of our financing this Thursday, the 21st. We'll likely start construction in January, and it will take about 2 years to fully build out the entire development.
The first units are planned to start lease up in May of 2025.
Thank you. Questions?
What's the amount of the taxable bonds that are issued on this project?
I think we said up to,
The board approved up to 10, but with this additional tax exempt financing now available through THGA, I don't think there will be any taxable bonds at this point.
yeah, that's right. So THGA had additional bonds at the end of the year. That's kind of why the late request, because we were only made aware of it maybe 2 weeks ago. But that allows for us to include those additional construction costs.
Well, the extra $4 million will go towards increased construction costs. So they won't affect the affordability breakdown one way or another.
No.
Okay. So what would have happened had the $4 million not become available?
It really would have come down to two options. We would have either, if THGA had additional bonds in 2024, we would have asked for them then, and then come back to you all and asked for a supplemental after the fact. Or we would try to work with our GC and try to figure out how to basically take out $4 million from the construction costs. Our goal is to not do that so we can provide the best development possible. But if we needed to, we would go that route.
Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion?
I move.
Move to approve?
Move to approve.
Is there a second? Second by Shelley, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? $4 million, happy Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much. Also want to say, I know you mentioned this last board meeting, every time we do a groundbreaking, we always try to invite the board. So, you'll get an email about it, but just want to let you know ahead of time. We would love to have you all out. It'll probably be March or April when it's a little warmer, but would love to have you all out and really see the impact, the domino effect of the work that's happening in this room.
We love that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Seeing that there are no other items on the agenda, I'd like to move that we elect a secretary. Our current secretary's term will end December 31st. And I think there is a motion for Shelley to be our secretary.
Need a second.
Is there a second on Shelley to be our secretary? 17 seconds. I saw Tyler first. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary. Yay. They should do a TV show. Should. And can we get some custom secretary cookies?
Yes,
Okay. All right.
I don't know what that would look like.
Congratulations. I like the secretary with no pen comment from earlier. Item number 6, information item, reports on debt obligation from Nashville Christian Towers.
That was just included in your package.
Which was
There's
the-
no
yeah.
action.
In that case, I'm going to press the red button and say we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.